camera. Let's transition over. Boom. 15 people in here already. So I changed out the webcam, everything. I went back to my normal set. You may notice that, I guess, but what I do need to work out definitely is the placement of my screen, so I have my one screen over here and I have my other screen over here. So I'm going to try and make some eye contact. Maybe you remind me in the chat to keep eye contact if I'm staring everywhere, guys. Tonight, this is kind of what I want to do. I talked about yesterday. I do want to live stream a lot. I want to get on and talk about like the normal day-to-day things and the things that I'm thinking, and I cannot do that inside the YouTube channel. So big things happened today. The moves I made, first and foremost, to talk about. I sold off 100 shares of Apple, like I mentioned yesterday. I got 2 of my 3 puts in. And then also the VUZI earnings. Guys, I think we'll get VUZI out of the way. Oh, yeah, the guitar is definitely in the background. The guitar is there for sure. Let's get the VUZI elephant out of the room, guys. Fundamentally, nothing has really changed from yesterday. And I mentioned in the Discord that, my goals, my beliefs, nothing has changed. And that's not bullshit. I'm being completely honest with you. Did they have bad earnings? Yeah, but just remember, just because they had bad earnings according to their estimates doesn't mean they're like a bad company. Doesn't mean anything went bad. Doesn't mean anything went wrong. And let me show you something that I brought up real quick. If I bring up the desktop, just real quick, so we don't have to dive too crazy into it. Here's the last 4 quarters of earnings for VUZI. So this is the debacle that everyone's talking about right here. So they were less profitable, right? So their PE is still negative, which was off by 40%, and their revenue was down almost half of what was expected. Okay, so you think to yourself, yeah, that's really, really crappy. If I go back a year ago, though, they had pretty much the exact same reported EPS, and they had more revenue than they had last year. Okay, so let's start to think about why some of those things might be true. They are definitely one of those companies I mentioned yesterday that benefits from COVID, right? They have virtual glasses that allow doctors to do surgeries or let one set of eyes be somewhere else. And I've also mentioned that price up to $20, $30, that was not normal. Like, they weren't a meme stock. They've been around since 1997. They've been doing virtual reality since before it was cool, as Aaron said in the Discord before. So when we see that they crushed earnings last year and they beat all the estimates, that's like when the buzz really started to pop off and get a little bit crazy. I don't see that big of a concern. Like, yeah, bad earnings is definitely crappy, but I don't think, and like I said, Aaron, he's in the chat right now and he owns a fair amount of VUZI, and I'm sure he's a little unsettled. I don't think he's listened to the earnings call. I haven't listened to the whole thing. I knew that there'd be the buzz, but guys, don't focus so much on the negative things when you're evaluating companies. Like I said, they've been around since 1997. One bad earnings call is going to ruin this company. Like, is it going to be back in the 20s anytime soon? Maybe not. But just as fast as things can go bad for a company, things can go good for a company. And the fundamentals and why I believed in their technology and what they could do for the future, that particularly hasn't changed for me. Now, full disclosure as well, the people that are new to the Discord that are getting onto the VUZI train now, a lot of us haven't bought shares in a really, really long time. Like, it's been a little overvalued. So I haven't bought, I have my call options. I have $5 call options. If we go into here and look at my portfolio, I have these 2 call options on VUZI, and right now I'm going to be doing a video on this. I got those 2 for $400 each. Okay, so I'm still up 132%. Now, if we look at the all-time highs, yeah, this got up. Let's see where it got. It got up to like $25.50 and in April, and we were all like singing praises. Guys, there's ups and downs. It's the stock market. This is why we buy leaps, because we have time to let things go our way. And I don't know, maybe I should be more terrified than I am. But like I said, I do need to listen to that full call. Maybe I'll make a video about it. I think we can just chat about it. But I don't think it's any that people like, you're going to be buying the dip. I haven't bought shares in a long time. Well, the share price was up. We weren't buying shares. we were holding on to our calls. We were selling covered calls against our current positions. Like tomorrow, will I sell some puts? Yeah, maybe I'll sell some puts. But if we look, this is what they did for, for a long time. We go back to 5 years even. So they started here. They've always been like that $5, $6. This was COVID, man. This was like, oh, wow, if we never have to go back to work, this is going to be the only way we could do surgery. And not only that, but the public sector and all the different sectors they're in, if you really dive into this company, they're not garbage. So even if we see like pre-COVID, this is here, right here we are, it might still go down. It really might. I don't know, but I think, the panic that really goes along with this, it's not a meme stock, so I'm not too worried about it. It is going to go down. I'm not going to be buying the dip. I don't need any more shares of this, but I definitely will probably be selling puts. I don't know how low the puts will go. We'll look at premiums tomorrow on that, but I don't know. If you guys have anything else you want to add in the chat about that, that's really all I really want to talk about when it comes to VUZI. Just so we're clear, when you say you got on the VUZI train, I got on the VUZI train, it's because I finally built up enough cash to buy Leaps. Yeah, I mean, do I think the company is going to grow over the next year in a Leaps option? Yeah, I still think they are. I mean, it's easy for me to say, right, when I have a $5 basis, but I still think that we're in a pretty good spot with them. I still fundamentally think they're going to be okay. Do they maybe have? Did I maybe put some maybe too much hype on it? Am I over leveraged? Good thing we've talked about that. Like I got down with all these growth stocks that I had, so like I said, I'm not really that worried about it. Well, it sucks. It sucks to get bad earnings. But that's really all I want to say about VUZI. Maybe I'll clip this and put it into a regular video. But until I really dive deep, they've had just one of these years. And we have to see what happens when, the dust clears and we see what the damage really is. I know that they didn't have a lot of sales. They pretty much went to zero with their sales. So we have to see who's going to be wanting this product, who's going to be buying it. And I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. We'll dive into everything else that I did today. Let me see if I can I'll pull up this. Can I make this smaller? I think I can. What do I do? Command minus. Yeah. Oh, that might be too big. Command plus. Sorry, I'll add it in a second. I just don't want to waste your time. Also, my mouse is like the wrong way. When it's like opposite and it scrolls the wrong way. Okay, so let's look at this. Now, I'd mentioned in videos with JJ, I'm not going to show the Fido. I mentioned yesterday that I'm not going to show that without him, like out of respect. It's our portfolio, not mine. But I mentioned that I had Apple because I wanted to get in. And it was at 52-week highs. I ended up making about $250 on that particular play. I don't know if it's on. No, these are just my wheels. But I ended up making a pretty good amount of money. And I said yesterday I wanted to go in and I wanted to play with Intel and see what I could do with Intel. If I could get a good price, I would be very, very happy with that. So essentially what I had to do first, I had to buy to close my call that I had in Fido on my 100 shares. And I netted $31 on that. So what does that look like as far as return on investment? So I got like 0.22% and it was open for 4 days. So that's an annual return of 40% I got even on the covered call. But I had to get rid of the covered call so that I could close my Apple position after being assigned. So after that, I looked and saw what can I do with Intel. All right, let me see if I can move this up here out of the way. Let me get this up out of the way here. I'll move this. Okay, so what exactly happened? So I looked and I knew that I wanted to go long term. I knew this was a value play. So I'll talk briefly because I know it might come up in the chat. And guys, please leave your questions about anything. I will get to them. I have the chat open right here. People ask like Intel versus AMC. If you look at the numbers, and I'm not going to go into like the deep dive of like all the numbers I look at, but just start with their market cap and their total revenue. Okay. Look at AMD's revenue and their market cap versus the revenue of Intel versus its market cap. I think I saw yesterday or read or heard somewhere that like, I think that AMD would have to grow 30% a year for the next 5 years to meet the revenue of Intel. Just a much better value play. So I ended up getting into this. I wrote a put against it. And let's see. Oh, shouldn't be money. 55. I don't know how I screwed this up. Maybe those are the wrong days. Oh, that's what it is. Everything's off by a row. But all these rows, I should fix these actually. Let me see if I can do that real quick. That's what I did. So I'm in the wrong thing here. Why did that lock? Anyway, what a disaster. We're doing this live. The long and short of it is I got in and I wrote a 121 expiration at, I think, $55. So that was the strike. $55, 122. That's 165 days away. And I got $449 for that play. So the collateral that I need to put up was 55 hundo on that. So right there, I am guaranteed myself an 8% return on Intel over the next 165 days. That's not even a full year. So we're talking about, if I did this twice, I'm looking at a 16% guaranteed return on Intel. Okay. That's why I went really far out. And then I got asked before, why would I go so far out and tie up that collateral? Like, what's the play? And why do some of my things are weeklies and some of them are monthlies, or some of them are multi-months? I love the value of Intel right now. And between now and the next year, I'd have no problem buying it. I don't think it has room to really dive down any deeper than it currently is. So the way I look at it is, even if I got a sign, that's fine. I'm still going to make 8%. I'm going to assign at a price that I really, really like. Now, if you do this with a stock that's overvalued and you went out 6 months and it gets assigned and it dives, and now you're stuck bag holding with a stock that you don't know if it's going to grow up and how long it's going to take to reach that overvalued price. So we don't want that, okay? That sucks. But at the value, when I find a good value in a stock, I have no problem going out. Especially with a value stock that really isn't going to grow too much. I don't need the growth. I just got myself 16%. Now, is it boring? Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to touch this till probably January. Maybe we'll close it depending on what happens. But essentially, for 5,500, I'm going to wait. And I'm going to, if there's a dip in Intel, they were green today. I don't know how green they were. Let me just look. Actually, I have them over here. So they were pretty flat today, okay, 0.24%. If they have a red day, it's a very, very good estimation, a very, very good chance that I'm going to be adding even another one to these. And like I said, for $10,000, which, yes, guys, ton of money, but money that I've been saving up. I've been doing this for years. I can make this happen. That's how we are going to make money in a bear market. That's how we are going to make money when things are down and not going our way. Okay, I get asked this all the time, or people criticize all the time. Oh, this is so easy when you're in a bull market. Guys, puts are fantastic, right? You can be liquid cash. That 5,500 is liquid for me. If I really need it, I can buy to close and I can get out of that option and get that collateral back if I really need to. Although it's held up at a value that I'm really, really happy with. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between puts weekly and puts far out. It depends on how much value are you getting at that strike, and what's the likelihood of it really coming down, and what's the likelihood of it rebounding and coming back. So I was very, very excited about that play. The other two things that I had on my list for today, I wanted to, or at least put on my list for this week. I am still missing poor man's covered calls on Pepsi. I do not have any open calls on Pepsi currently. And I also need to write some calls on VUZI, but it's not looking like that's going to happen anytime soon. So if we look down at VUZI right here, and I think, no, maybe I have Pepsi. I do. No, I don't have a Pepsi, but I also need a Starbucks. So that's another one that's on there too. So I have a couple calls that I need to make. I had Tattoo Chef, but if we look at like Pepsi and Starbucks, all the ones that I want to write calls on today, those particular stocks happen to be in the in the red. So I want to make sure that I'm selling calls on green days. Things change or things are even. So I'm going to be patient. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to say, okay, I got some calls that I could still write some calls against later in the week. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, we talked in the Discord today about, just because it's Monday, that doesn't mean we have to make a trade, right? It's better strategically to wait a day or two for things to go in your favor. And that's going to be the difference in maybe $100, $200. It could be a lot of money. So I know when we get into options really, really early on, we get really excited. I did the same thing, and I couldn't wait for Monday. And I made all my covered calls and all my wheel plays by 9:45 on Monday. And then you find out things change. So guys, please do me the favor and sell covered calls on green days, sell puts on red days, buy leaps on green days, things like on red days. Things like that are really going to help you. Did I just confuse myself? So let me just repeat that. We sell covered calls on green days, so the premium is higher. But when we buy, we want the value lower, so we're going to buy leaps on red days. We are going to sell puts on red days because that's when things are down. Things like that. Those general strategies are going to just help you with a ton of money, right? It will go a long way. So those were the kind of the moves I made today. If we look, let's go back to this mess. I don't even know what happened here. Let's look at this mess of a spreadsheet, probably because I zoomed in. So these are the covered call. This is the poor man's covered calls so far. So I got to add a covered call. I don't have one open on Pepsi. I don't have one on these two VUZIs, and I don't have one open on Starbucks, but that's okay. I got all my break evens here. Everything's looking good. I could be assigned to my short calls. Nothing's really going to happen. Sold my Starbucks put this morning for a nice gain. Awesome. I'm going to sell one of those Intel puts on margin tomorrow. On the margin. I guess if that's what you want to do, Aaron, that's what you can do. For all you guys that are inside the chat, that's NG Bird. What are you looking for? She had that with her on the couch. It's in the living room somewhere. She might have brought it up when I put her pajamas on. Sucks to suck. Sucks to suck. It's around. She held it. Sorry, guys. Just doing dadding right now. Can't find her little stuffed animal that she goes to bed with, which if you have had a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, yikes. What are you guys drinking? Tell me in the chat. I got the good old red, white, and blue here. Leave some questions in the comments section, guys. I definitely have that's pretty much all I want to talk about. I'm struggling for YouTube content. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not struggling like in the way JJ said, like I'm like depressed on YouTube and it's not working out. There's just sometimes like I just have writer's block, I guess. And also when you've made over 300 videos that I've made, it gets very hard to like stay original for yourself. And I know it's really important to go back and remake old content. That's why I just did a poor man's covered call video. I think the next one actually going to be in Leap's video because I have a bunch of Leap's options open. And a lot of them over the term, like the share price has gone up 4%, but the option's gone up 120-something%. So I kind of am going to make a video and break down the numbers and the returns on investments of literally that video that I made 6 months ago, why I'll never outright buy 100 shares ever again. So I think I might make a Leaps video coming up. I have some sponsored content coming out, so I have to kind of align that with some sponsored content, which is, I know people want to knock the sponsored content, but it pays the bills. It really, really does. Do you guys have any questions? If not, we can kind of like wrap this up nice, quick, and easy. I mean, that was a little faster. I definitely want to play with you guys and hang out, but I'm not going to babble and waste your time. I said all of them, but I brought down 3 beers. I'm probably going to sit here and drink the 3 beers because my wife thinks I'm working. So there's 21 people in here, guys. If you can give the video a thumbs up, if you like that VUZI talk or if you like the portfolio. If there's anything else you guys want to see, there's really not much going on in the M1 Finance portfolio, things like that. But if you guys have anything that you really want to bring up that we're talking about, trying to think of some awesome questions that I got. Maybe we can dive into the YouTube page and we can kind of see, I can look through some questions that I get really, really often. Let's switch this. You guys want to see all the troll comments I get? YouTube Studio. What are your thoughts on the overall market? Feels like everything is overextended. So Josh, I think the market's overvalued. Like we looked last night and what the S&P 500 was at like 35 or 36 PE. That's overvalued as far as traditional fundamentals are concerned. So for me to say that it's not overvalued, I'd be a liar if I said that by traditional standards it wasn't. But I am not on the train of like the crash is coming, we're in a bubble market. I don't believe in those conspiracies, mostly because in my life in general, I try not to believe in things that are, or focus on things that I can't control. I can't control the markets and the bubble. What I can control is my investments, my emotions, and the decisions that I make. So in this type of market where things are slightly expensive, that's when I'm going to use the Leaps options. Like, right? Like we look at the price to buy 100 shares versus the price to buy a Leaps option with a delta of 0.8. You're essentially getting the same exact leverage for a fraction of the price. Am I going to be a poor man's covered call guy for the rest of my life? No, I'm doing it because that's what the market conditions favor, right? If we switch and go into a bear market, I'm going to be doing the opposite where I'm going to be buying puts and writing puts against them. So what I'm doing right now is I'm dealing with the current market conditions that are high. I'm not buying stocks that are overvalued. I think the more I learn about value investing, even though it's probably not like the set your hair on fire and let's go for it, as far as like individual stocks, which are also a very, very small percentage of my portfolio, it's just not something that I'm into. I don't need to buy the Teslas, the Amazons, and all these other things that are shooting to the moon. And I'm very okay with clapping while people win. There's this overall sentiment in the market of, possible, not probable, right? And I think the guys from Everything Money, they talked about like you wouldn't go off to a little league baseball game and give every kid on the field $1 million and tell them if you ever made it back, you had to give them 10 million. Like, yeah, it's possible one of those little leaguers can become a major leaguer and you get all your money plus 10x, but the likelihood and the probability of them becoming a major leaguer is very, very low. So I try not to let my emotions get the best of me when I'm investing. I mean, I own some Dogecoin. I have things like I'm human, right? So I give into things like that, but don't focus on, is the market high or low? Is there going to be a bubble? Is there going to be this, that, and the other thing? It's just not worth it. Focus on ways to make money in every type of market, right? Think about ways that you can win when the markets are up, win when the markets are down, win when, the markets are flat. I haven't talked about iron condors in a very, very long time. If we go a couple months and the markets are flat, you're going to see me start to make iron condor videos again. It's going to be as simple as that. So everyone thinks that like I ditched the wheel and I got into the poor man's covered call just to like evolve my content. My content didn't like evolve from like the videos I was making. It evolved with the markets. I stopped doing the wheel because I didn't want to buy overvalued 100 shares of stock anymore, right? I wanted to buy them at a price that I thought was appropriate. And the only way I was going to get that price is if I bought leaps against those particular stocks. And they're all blue chip, the same stocks I would buy. But, it's funny. I just bought and sold 100 shares of Apple in the last week, and they're at 52-week highs. So I sound like I'm contradicting myself. But in an overall grand picture, just figure out ways that you can make some more money off of those. Bought high on a leap. When to cut losses. To be honest, you have till the last day of expiration. So, I mean, if you bought high on a leap of a shitty stock and it tanked and you don't think it's ever going to rebound, I guess you could kind of get out. But, I mean, we buy them for a long term because we know there's going to be ups. The longer we go out, the longer we have to be right. So right now, if you're effed, so, I mean, if we're 30 days out from expiration, yeah, it might be time to start thinking about cutting losses. But I don't even look at my leaps. That's why on my spreadsheet, hold on, I'll show you. On my spreadsheet, this right here is all I care about. When I look over at these, all I care about is days till expiration. This thing is 500 days till expiration. I do not care. This is 300 days till expiration. You want Starbucks could be at $0 today. I would not care because I have 312 days for Starbucks to do the most miraculous thing it's ever done in its history and for me to look like a hero. So as far as like cutting your losses, bud, I wouldn't worry about it. It all factors into that days to expiration. So it depends on where you're at with that. Hope that answered your question. People are dumb, not sponsored content. Yeah, don't worry about that. I don't really worry about it too much. Maybe not entirely relevant. Doesn't matter. This channel is about whatever. We can talk about potty training if you want, Ollie. But is it better to run the wheel on individual stocks or ETFs? It doesn't really matter. I mean, we know that ETFs, they operate a lot like stocks. I have no problem running the wheel on particular ETFs. They tend to be pretty steady, so that's nice. They're pretty predictable. That's also nice, but they can also be very unpredictable just as quick. I mean, the SPY wheel that I've wanted to run, it's like the mecca of the wheel, right? That running the SPY wheel. And I've talked amongst friends and in the Discord that the risk just isn't, like the premiums aren't that great. And it has 3-day expirations, but you really can only do 2 a week, so it's not that big. I have no problem running it on. If I had 100 shares of VTI in a taxable brokerage account, I would probably run the wheel with it. I mean, I don't think that's a really big deal. It's really up to you. You run the wheel on stocks that you don't mind getting rid of, that are above your basis, and that you want to make some extra money on, and they're not going to moon. Like, that's really my only criteria for that. So that's not really that big of a deal. The market has changed so much with social media. I really can't speak intelligently because I guess I've only invested in this type of market. I wasn't around in the 2008, all that time frame. The last time we really had a major correction. I mean, last March was the last time I ever saw, like, quote, a correction, and the shit bounced back in like 3 months. So, was that doom and gloom? I mean, I guess, but I think that it affects a lot of things. There's definitely some hype, and I've mentioned this before. I still think that, like, fundamentals of a business for a large majority of the market, right? The total stock market index fund has over 3,500 companies in there. How many of those are meme stock? How many of those are driven by social media? I would say a very, very, very small percentage. It seems like a large percentage because we hear so much about it because we're so ingrained in social media. But I don't know. I don't think it factors as much in as we think it does. It definitely, if Elon says something, does it move Tesla or does it move Bitcoin for a day? Yeah. But I mean, 3 days after he said it, does it kind of bounce back and go back to where it was and where it should be? I think the answer to that question is yes as well. I keep getting squeezed in my iron condors. Yeah, for me, the iron condor right now, it's just too volatile for me right now. Yeah. Do you use Think or Swim at all? I have an account and I've been on there, but I'm not really a technical analysis kind of guy. I don't really do much charting. The only charts I look at are implied volatility, historical implied volatility. I use Market Chameleon for that. It's a paid service. I've said a couple times it's really, really hard to find historical implied volatility for free. I know you could find the current implied volatility, and I guess if you watch a stock long enough, I would tell somebody right now, anybody that's tracking or doing due diligence on a stock, that they might want to do a leaps option. Glance down, jot down the implied volatility that day. Even tracking it for 30 days might give you a pretty good picture of what it's doing. But I have Thinkorswim, but I don't really use it mostly, like I said, because of that reason. I'm not really a technical analysis kind of person. Which would be a good YouTube video? Oh, the social media? Yeah, I could talk about that. Are your Mets going to make it to the playoffs or what? Going to the game tomorrow. It seems like the same old Mets, right? I did say this channel is about anything, so we could talk about the Mets. I'm one of those people where I'm not a huge baseball fan. Like, if a sports team that I'm watching or like loses, I don't really give a shit. I really don't. Like, everyone's like, you are the most fair weather Met fan that has season tickets. I have season tickets because I love going to the ballpark in the summer. I like day drinking. I like being at the stadium, and it's a social event. Like, it keeps my brothers and I together having the tickets. It's like a good reason for us to stay together. Like, when both your parents pass away, your siblings, it's very easy. Like, your parents are the glue sometimes that keep your siblings together, especially at adult age. My kids also help a lot with that because they come see my kids often. But yeah, if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. Like, there's a part of me that almost hopes they don't, because then I have to pay for playoff tickets and I don't really care, but I'll have to go to the playoff games. So I still think they'll make the playoffs. We got a lot of people that are hurt. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of young guys that could still, step up and do awesome. Is there a way to track options price or something? Is there a way to track options price history on something you don't already own yet? I don't think you can do that. The answer is yes. Doing it might be interesting. Let me see, like, if we just go to Robinhood real quick. Like, let's just say let's see if I could just do this. Like, if I put an Apple. Can I see? Now, because I think just in their options chain, which currently is going to be Hogwash Poopy Hog. So they gave you this. This is new, but this is their share price. So, yeah, I don't think you can really see. Not on Robinhood you can't. That's something for me to write down. I'll take a look. That's something you definitely can do, and you can track that. But I just got to look where. I mean, even something like Yahoo Finance might even be a better spot for Robinhood. If you know a place, please leave it in the chat. Where can you track the historical value of an option? Because it's the bid-ask spread is going to be different depending on the market makers. You should be able to track that. Nothing better than a baseball game on a summer day. Yeah, and the Mets sent out a survey in the offseason, like, Saturday, would you rather go to a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock or a 7 o'clock game? And I guess nobody voted for one. It was always 1:10 Saturday games. They're all 4:10 now. So I guess that was the one people most voted on. It sucks. The 1:10 game, you start drinking early. You'd be home by 5. Your wife would be mad at you, but it'd be okay. Like, the 4:10 game, you like leave at noon. You're not home till it just sucks. I either want to go to a night game or I want to go to a day game. All right. Looks like we got to the bottom of the ninth. We're at the bottom of the chat. One beer? Come on, guys. That's weak. Everyone's leaving. 16. All right, guys. I will not be live tomorrow because I'm going to the Mets game. Actually, I'm taking my daughter, Avery, to her first game ever. So it's a night game. Kind of terrified and excited all at the same time. Wednesday, I will not be live on this channel. I'll be live on Average Money. So if you are on YouTube now, you can search Average Money Podcast. I'll be on with JJ on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I'll probably hop on here and see what's going on before I take off for the weekend. I'm going back to the old summer house out on the North Fork. If you're on the North Fork or Long Island, you can meet up with me this weekend, maybe next week. We'll be out there. And then JJ's coming back out to New York with his wife the week after that. If you're in the New York area, we're definitely going to do a meet and greet. I know there's so many Long Islanders over here. How do you find stocks to put on your watch list? So, being that I'm not a huge individual stock person, most of the things on my watch list are going to be leaps, especially, like I said, inside this market. But I am still one of those people that I look for stocks of companies that I use first and foremost. And until I own all of those, I have some screeners that I use inside stock rovers, but like not being a dividend investor, I don't really need to keep track of that. So I'm always just looking at earnings. I love earnings calls. I love earnings season because that really shows the true value of a company. It takes things like social media out of it, things like that. So if you stick to a plan of how you evaluate a company, it's very, very easy to put things on your watch list, and it's very, very easy to get them out. Like, if you can be a numbers person, and that's probably why I don't have a real estate property yet with JJ, because I am so strict with my numbers and I don't vary them. Like, It's all business for me. So when I see a stock with a P of 35, unless I'm making a YouTube video about it, or unless it's going to be something that's like a little bit of a YOLO or a spec play, because I'm allowed to do spec plays, but as far as like long-term investments and things that I am watching, things like that become very, very easy. Now, is P the only metric I'm going to look at? No. Sometimes you're going to pay something for future growth, right? You're going to pay for, like, if they have a low cash flow, but their free cash flow, but their growth potential is really huge, that might be something I'm going to look at. But if you have like 10 metrics and it only checks 2 of the 10, I mean, you could talk yourself into it all you want. If you're going to talk yourself into it and not look at the numbers and don't even have a list of criteria. But I think if you are going to be focusing on making a watch list, first and foremost, you need to set a criteria of what's going to be on that list, what's going to be valuable to you, and are you going to stick to your guns? Like, after you make that criteria, every time I break the rules of like the things that I talk about, it's only me sometimes because I'm trying things out. Like if I say that on a poor man's covered call, I don't mess with a short call with a delta greater than 2, and then I'll put up in a video and it'll be like 0.22, and people will light me up in the comment sections. You said 0.2 or under. It's like, all right, well, it was either 0.22 or 0.1. I was okay with the 0.22 on a monthly. So there's things like that. You can have leeway with your numbers, but you have to give each one of them of a score. Like, I think the easiest way, like yes or no on a company, start with 5 metrics. 5 metrics, maybe like revenue growth over time. What are some other good ones? Assets to liabilities, like how much debt do they have and why? Free cash flow is another good one. P is kind of weird right now, but look at those things. Are they losing money over time? Can they pay off their debts? Are they doing right? Is their revenue increasing over time? And give some sort of value to that and put it in a screener. Or just start to look for companies and start with companies that like you drink Budweiser, look up AB InBev. Look what their assets to liability is. Look what their growth and revenue is. Look what their dividend is if you're really into that. And then make a decision that that's really what you want to do. First live video I've seen where the likes match the views. Let's go. Well, we were at 20 viewers before, so there were some viewers that did not like the freaking video. And I tried to put timestamps in yesterday's video. It didn't work, so I just threw them in the comments. I'm always going to do that. Please reference back to the videos. I have months and years and months before this thing ever gets monetized, so really the best motivation for me to keep making these is, give the video a thumbs up, reference it in the Discord. If I said something, I can always find it and timestamp it, because I know that everyone can't make 8 o'clock. I mean, it's probably dinner time for the West Coast right now, 4:45. If my favorite YouTuber was going live 4:45 during dinner time, my wife would laugh at me. So maybe I'll change the times of these live streams. I also too, and I'll always post these in the thumbnails and the titles. Sometimes I'm just going to want to get on and vent about things that have nothing to do with money, and that's going to be the goal of the channel. This is kind of like my Instagram story. I'm not good at Instagram stories, so I really want to get in and show you, the behind the scenes of me being a really, really, a regular person. How many subs to be monetized? 1,000, but frankly, that's easy. I could go out and really push. If I posted this on my main channel, if I started a new YouTube channel on my main channel with 86,000 subs, I could get 1,000 in probably a week. That happened on Average Money. We got it, but they also require you to have 4,000 hours of watch time, which is a ton. I think last night's live stream accumulated 21 hours. So after tonight, I'll be at 50 of the 4,000 required watch time hours. So I don't even care about the monetization. I'm more my wife said to me, she's like, "You're going to live stream again?" And I said, it felt good. It felt, especially when this writer's block on the main channel, it felt good just to talk. I know that it's small. I know that most of you are probably in my Discord. I know that I probably could communicate better with the Discord, and I hate typing and writing. So I think what I'm going to do is start highlighting comments or questions that I get in the Discord, and then just coming out and just randomly talking about things for 2-3 minutes, making a bunch of bullet points. If it works out, it works out. And if it's 10 minutes long, it's 10 minutes long. If it's, what are we at now? 45 minutes long, it's 45 minutes long. But any last minute questions, guys? All right. I remember one thing I do want to say that I've always wanted to have this in my live stream. It's good to be able to say what you want and not have to have up the algorithm. Yeah, guys, if you don't have a YouTube channel, you have no idea what people are saying when they say that it messes with the algorithm. It really does. We've tested it. We've tested it in large groups of creators. We've tested it on daily live streams. We've tested it on weekly live. I'll give you a couple really, really good examples. Actually, one that comes to like the front of my mind. Like Bruce Wang. I love you, Bruce, but he got really burnt out when he did that live stream, and like, it's great when it's good, but he had to come back, and he came back and stopped live streaming. The algorithm's like, I thought you were a live stream channel. And it kind of hurt him a little bit, so he had to take some time off. He also had a baby. There's things like he didn't quit YouTube. He'll be back, but it really, really does. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it. I really like it too. And I said, you'll get me on a weekend when I'm crushing mirrors. Maybe the guitar will come off the wall or something like that. But I want to start this for the live stream. If you've ever seen the Dave Ramsey live stream, I'm going to take something from Dave Ramsey's live stream, because one day I'm going to take over his live stream when he keeps saying dumb shit and I get to take over his channel. Last chat. I don't know what the prize is going to be, but the last comment in the chat. So when I press end stream, YouTube takes a second to process it. It's still alive for a second. I want to see. Maybe we'll have like a bragging rights. I'll make a thread inside the Discord of like who wins the last chat in the chat prize. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll give a good one. So as soon as we sign off, and I think I said you could only like make one post every little bit. So get in your see you later or have a great night and see if you can be the last chat. And until the next time, probably Thursday, guys, enjoy the rest of your night.